Throughout history, there have been countless unexplainable stories, events, and moments captured on audio. These horrifying tapes were archived, never to be heard again. Until now. These are the tapes of trepidation. Tape number 63. Brick. The sky was dull gray as the man knelt by the riverbank, digging his hands into the cold, damp earth. This part of the job was peaceful, almost solitary. Just him, his hands, and the cool, pliable clay beneath his fingers. With practiced movements, he carved out a lump, its edges slick with moisture and streaked with bits of grit and root. It was just clay, nothing remarkable. One of the thousands of pieces he collected over the years. The weight of the clay was satisfying in his hands, dense yet yielding, a shape that could be molded into anything. Today, it would become a brick. One of many that would line buildings, walls, and pathways, entirely forgettable. It didn't cross Thomas's mind that this piece would travel a unique path, that it would soon become an object of unfathomable consequence. In his hands, it was just a lump of earth. He tossed it into his bucket and carried it back up the narrow trail to the truck, loading it onto the bed with the other lumps. He slapped the side of the truck, signaling the driver. His work was done. The engine roared to life and the truck pulled away, leaving the quiet banks behind. The truck rumbled through winding roads and small towns until it reached the sprawling grounds of the brick factory. Here, the air was thick with dust and scent of heated clay. A metallic tang that clung to workers' skin and clothes. The conveyor belts rattled endlessly, carrying the lumps of clay one by one towards their transformation. Inside, the lump of clay from the riverbank was lifted and dropped onto a conveyor belt. It journeyed through a series of machines, each one more merciless than the last. First, it was pressed, flattened by a heavy roller that compacted each particle. Then, it was sliced into neat, uniform shapes, stripped of its raw, natural edges. The machine hummed and whirred as the clay was hardened, fired in a kiln under searing heat until it became something else entirely. No longer a piece of earth, but a brick, rigid and unyielding. It was now one among thousands, stacked on a wooden pallet, waiting for the next part of the journey. To anyone watching, it was just one more building block, indistinguishable from the rest. Yet, something about it seemed out of place. Maybe it was a slight unevenness in its shape, or a minor crack hidden deep within. Invisible to the eye, but fatal under the right circumstances. Workers loaded the pallets onto a truck, securing each heavy square of silent, cold bricks. The straps were pulled taut, securing the load against the bumps and sways of the road. With the last one fastened, the truck's engine growled to life, and it rolled out of the factory yard, its cargo of bricks clattering quietly in response. As the truck picked up speed on the highway, wind tore at the load. The tension of the strap strained against the weight, holding each pallet in place. But perhaps not perfectly. Among the stacks, one brick shifted slightly, nudged by the vibrations. It was a small, nearly visible movement, yet it was just enough to set it apart from the others. Thundering down the highway, each bump in the road sent faint tremors through the tightly strapped pallets. Miles passed in a blur of asphalt, trees, and the occasional flash of distant headlights. The driver paid little mind to the load. He'd made this trip countless times before, with no reason to believe today would be any different. But then, the truck jolted over a single deep pothole, one that the driver didn't see in time to avoid. The impact sent a violent shudder through the vehicle, loosening the tension in one of the straps ever so slightly. One brick. One single brick, perched near the edge of a pallet, shifted forward. Hanging off of the edge, it seemed frozen in a precarious balance. Then, as if nudged by an unseen hand, the brick tipped over the side and plummeted to the road below. For a moment, it tumbled across the pavement, spinning wildly, a single object against the roar of speeding cars. A glint of red clay blurred through the air, gaining momentum as it bounced from the asphalt back up into the open highway. Just as a car approached from behind, the brick took one final leap. It shot upward, straight toward the windshield. The driver of the car had barely a second to react, his eyes widening as the brick slammed through the glass with brutal force. The shattering impact sent jagged shards flying as the brick crashed into the front passenger seat. She had no time to scream, to shield herself. Nothing. The impact was instant, merciless. The car swerved to the side of the road, coming to a halt amid a thick, echoing silence. And there, lying amid the broken glass and blood-stained fragments, was the brick. Its journey complete, its purpose fulfilled. A final, fatal act of chance. This has been tape number 63, Brick, by the Tapes of Trepidation Horror Narration Podcast. Brick was written by J. Philip Morris and was submitted for consideration on the Tapes of Trepidation Discord. If you enjoyed this story and want to support J. Philip Morris, be sure to check out the podcast he's a huge part of, Baseline Feed. They do great work over there. And if you're a fan of audio dramas, you definitely need to check it out. Narration, production, and sound design for this episode was by TJ Hodder. All credit for music and additional sound design can be found in the show notes. The Tapes of Trepidation theme was written by the incredible J.M. Scherf. All logos, banners, overlays, and graphic design work was provided by the talented Jason Reese from Jaybird Digital Arts. If you have a story you would like to submit or a question regarding the show, please contact us at tapesoftrepidation@gmail.com. Support the show by subscribing and leaving a rating on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, your favorite podcatcher, or like and subscribe on YouTube. Be sure to tell your friends. Word of mouth is extremely helpful to a podcast like this one. Check us out on social media through the link tree in the show notes. We have Facebook, Instagram, and Discord. As I mentioned, this story was actually submitted through Discord. So, if you're hearing my voice right now, you enjoy this podcast, you use Discord, and you are not a member of the Tapes of Trepidation archive, stop what you're doing. I'll wait. Are you done? All right, listen. Go join the Tapes of Trepidation Discord. In all seriousness, we have a ton of fun over there, and it is definitely the best way to keep up with everything that goes on with the podcast, interact with the community, and also myself. If you have any desire to do that, of course. If you'd like to support the show a little more, consider joining the Tapes of Trepidation Patreon, where for as little as $5 a month, you can gain access to monthly bonus short stories / micropasta narrations, the weekly behind-the-scenes podcast within the archive, and more. So come, join us, and become trapped within the archive. Just like my current patrons, Neil Skarupa of Neurotic Voice, Doozer Pin Dan, Ronan Kumori, who may or may not be someone who wrote the story in another name, Eric Bones, Patrick Stewart, Madam Strangeways, and Dr. Torment. Thank you all so much for the support. All content used on Tapes of Trepidation is either original, used with permission, or is available under a Creative Commons share-alike license. All rights reserved unless otherwise stated. Licensing information can be found in the show notes. This podcast and its content may not be redistributed or rebroadcasted, but the express written consent of Tapes of Trepidation and the story's author. Thank you all so much for listening.